Welcome friends. Today we are going to start with a new subject, Taxation 2 at our semester 5. In this subject you have one of your chapter, capital gain, and that is what with which we are going to start with our study today. Okay, now you all know that there are total 5 heads of income. So heads of income are there under section 14 of the Income Tax Act 1961. The head 1, income under the head salary, section 15 to 17. Business and profession, that is from section 22 to 27. Income under the head house property, section 28 to 44. Capital gain, section 45 to 55A. And the last one, other sources, that is section 56 to 59. Now, among all these 5 heads, in the semester 4 BCom, we have already talked about the income under the head salary and the income under the head house property. So, this time in the semester 5, we have to proceed with our income under the head business and profession, capital gain and other source. Today we are going to start with the income under the head capital gain. Yeah. Before we could start with, we should know that what is the meaning of capital gain. Yeah. Now what is capital gain? Any profit or gain arising on sale or transfer of a capital asset in the relevant previous year is called as the capital gain. Yeah. Now see what I have told you, that any profit or gain and it should arise on the sale or a transfer of any asset. It means there has to be an asset and that asset has to be owned by an assessee. You all know what is the meaning of assessee now. There has to be a transfer of capital asset. Transfer here means it can be a sale, transfer, relinquishment, surrender of any capital asset. Then that the transfer should be during the relevant previous year. What is the relevant previous year for us? It is the 2018-19. The result of this particular transfer must be the capital gain or a loss. It means that the amount of money which you are going to receive from the sale of your capital asset should be greater than the cost price. If it is so, it would be a capital gain, and if it is not, it would be a capital loss. Then one more thing is there, and that is very important. There are certain exemptions. Exemptions. The exemptions for the capital gain are being defined under section 54. Under section 54, 54B, 54D, 54EC and 54EE. So, whatever the capital gain you are arriving at after this particular transaction, there should not be any exemption. Yes, these are the things which you should keep in mind whenever you are going for the calculation of the capital gain. So, in short, what is capital gain? Capital gain can be a profit or a gain which you are arising on the transfer of your capital asset, and that transfer has to be there during a relevant previous year. And for you and me, this time our previous year is 2018-19, that starts on 1st April 2018 and ends on 31st March 2019. Okay. So what is the meaning of capital asset? Section 2, subsection 14 of the Income Tax Act define the capital asset. So capital asset is a property of any kind held by an assessee, whether or not connected with his business or profession. It means what? Any property which has been held by an assessee, which has been owned by an assessee, whether it has been used for his business or not. It doesn't make any difference. Any securities held by a foreign institutional investor as per the SEBI Act 1992, and it also includes any movable, immovable, tangible or intangible, fixed or circulating property. Circulating property here means the current asset. So, see, capital asset, it is an inclusive definition. What are the things to be remembered over here? That a capital asset has to be owned by an assessee, he can use that particular asset for his business or profession, or even he may not. The securities which has been held by him or her by a foreign institutional investors, and it also includes all movable, immovable, tangible, intangible, fixed or circulating property. There are certain exceptions to capital asset. Now this is a list wherein these are not considered as the capital asset for the purpose of calculation of the capital gain. I'll tell you. Number 1. Any stock in field. If an assessee held any stock which has been in field for the purpose of his business, it will not be considered as a personal, it will not be considered as a capital asset. Personal effects, I will discuss it. Personal effects and agricultural land. Both these things we are going to discuss in detail. 6.5% gold bonds 1997, which has been issued in 7% gold bonds 1980, 6.5% national defense gold bonds 1980, special bearer bonds 1991, gold deposit bonds by gold deposit scheme which has been there issued in the year 1999, and the deposit certificate issued under the gold monetization scheme in the year 2015. These are the various exceptions to the capital asset. It means what? These are the assets which are not being considered as the capital asset for the calculation of capital gain under the Income Tax Act 1961. Okay, now let us understand what is the meaning of personal effect and agricultural land over here. Okay. Movable property including wearing apparel, it means a jewelry, all types of vehicles, furniture held for a personal use by an assessee. You have your own jewelry to wear on, then you own your vehicle. Even the family members of yours are owning certain vehicles, and the furniture at our home will not be considered as a capital asset. It means what? It would be considered as a personal effect. But remember one thing, jewelry, archaeological collections, drawings, sculptures, painting are not considered as a personal property, and it is taxable. Jewelry, no doubt it is an asset. It would be there for a personal effect, but even though it is a personal effect, it would be considered as a property and it would be taxable. Then agricultural land in India, which is not a urban agricultural land, means only rural agricultural land is not a personal property for the purpose of income tax. Now when we talk about the capital assets, there are two kinds of capital assets, long-term capital asset and the short-term capital asset. First we will talk about the short-term capital asset. An asset which has been held by an assessee for not more than 36 months. It would be considered as a short-term capital asset. It means what? If you are holding a property for not more than 36 months, it would be considered as a short-term capital asset. On the other hand, long-term capital asset, an assessee, if he is holding a property, if he is holding an asset for more than 36 months, it would be considered as a long-term capital asset. Now there must be a question that why this classification is there. Yes, the classification is being done. Why? Because the taxability of the gain, that is in case of short-term capital gain and the long-term capital gain, differs as per the Income Tax Act. That is why. Yeah. Now when we talk about the short-term capital asset, what I have told that if it has been held by an assessee for not more than 36 months, it would be considered as a short-term capital asset. But if it is a land and building, or both land even and a building, or land or a building, then in that case it should not be held for more than 24 months. It means if you are an assessee and if you are holding it for 24 months and then you are selling it out, it would be a short-term capital gain. Same for financial assets like shares listed in recognized stock exchanges, zero coupon bonds, units of UTI, units of mutual fund. If you are holding any financial asset for not more than 12 months, it would be considered as a short-term asset. And for unlisted shares it would be for not more than 24 months. It means in general, if you are not holding an asset for not more than 36 months, it would be short-term capital asset. But if it is a land and building, it should not be for more than 24 months. If it is a financial asset, specifically the listed securities, it should not be more than for 12 months, and for unlisted shares, not more than 24 months. On the other hand, when you talk about the long-term capital asset, it is exactly opposite. A capital asset held by an assessee for more than 36 months is called a long-term capital asset. Land and building or both, same here. If it is a land and building, what we have understood in the short-term capital gain, if you are not holding it for not for more than 24 months, it would be short-term. It means if you are holding it for more than 24 months, it would be a long-term capital asset. For financial assets, specifically the listed securities, zero coupon bonds, units of UTI and mutual funds, then if you are holding it for more than 12 months, it will become a long-term capital asset. And for unlisted securities, if you are holding it for more than 24 months, it would be a long-term capital asset. In general, a short-term capital asset is an asset which you are holding, which an assessee is holding for not more than 36 months, and a long-term capital asset is an asset which is been held by an assessee for more than 36 months. For land and building, less than 24 months. In case of long-term capital gain, more than 24 months. For listed securities, short-term capital gain, less than 12 months. For long-term capital gain, more than 12 months. And for unlisted securities, in short-term capital gain, it is less than 24 months, and for long-term capital gain, it is more than 24 months. I hope now the short-term capital assets and the long-term capital assets are very clear. Yes, I have already told you that by this classification, because the taxability of the short-term capital gain and the long-term capital gain is different as far as Income Tax Act is concerned. So, when you are earning something on the transfer of your asset, that is, let it be a short-term capital asset or a long-term capital asset, it is known as a capital gain. So, as the assets are being divided into two, short-term capital asset and the long-term capital asset, the same way the gain, the capital gain is even been divided into two kinds, short-term capital gain and the long-term capital gain. It means if you are earning any capital, if you are an assessee and if you are earning anything from the transfer of your short-term capital asset, then it would be a short-term capital gain. And if it is been earned by an assessee on the transfer of any of the long-term capital asset, it would be considered as a long-term capital gain. I hope now there is no confusion. For the transfer of short-term capital asset, the gain which an assessee will be earning would be short-term capital gain. And for the long-term capital assets, on the transfer of long-term capital assets, the capital gain which has been earned by an assessee will be known as a long-term capital gain. I have already told you that the taxability of this is totally different. So, if it is a short-term capital gain, the gain which has been earned by an assessee would be taxable at the normal income tax slab rates, which we have already studied in our BCom semester 4. If it is a long-term capital gain, then in that case it would be 20% plus an education cess with indexation. Yes, short-term capital gain, it is the normal slab rates which we have already studied in our BCom semester 4, the slab system. And for the long-term capital gain, it is a flat rate at 20% of the capital gain of the long-term capital gain which has been earned by an assessee plus an education cess with indexation. Okay friends, now what we have understood in today's session, we have understood what is the meaning of capital gain, what is capital asset, what are the types of capital asset, and on the basis of this, what is the classification of the capital gain. And why this classification? Because the taxation is different for both the gains, short term and the long term. Next session we will look after what is indexation, why the indexation is there as far as the long-term capital gains are concerned, and how will we proceed for the calculation of the capital gain from the transfer of the long-term capital asset. Thank you.